It was, I'm sure, as exciting to you as it was to me to read about this new partnership. I have a sort of personal investment in this. About 30 years ago, I was plucked from relative obscurity by Steven Spielberg's producer, Kathy Kennedy, to join the production of Empire of the Sun. And we spent many months getting the permits to shoot there, and Steven came, and my orders were, when Steven arrived, was to stick by his side the whole time. So I could have died and gone to heaven at that point. It was quite an amazing experience that helped shape me who I am as a producer today, because not only the extraordinary talent, but the professionalism and the humanity that he and his team brought to a country that was just opening up to the rest of the world was really extraordinary and eye-opening in so many ways. And it really helped me believe in what was possible as a pioneer, and to embrace change and adventure, and think about the future in a paradigm-shifting way. Ironically, several years ago, I also had a fair amount of time with Jack Ma, and heard a lot of stories about his co-founding of Alibaba. And he's a very charming personality and very self-deprecating. And he liked to call himself E.T. He said he looked like E.T. So today we have this partnership. Is it possible that Steven actually gave birth to Jack as E.T.? So no, this Amblin, Alibaba, the two AAA companies coming together is, I think, exciting for so many reasons, not the least of which they were founded, these two companies are founded by individuals, by real people, who have really kind of inspired so many of us in different ways. So I want to ask these lovely people, Jeff Small of Amblin and Wei Zhang of Alibaba, how this all came about. Who masterminded this? What was the genesis of this partnership?
Well, I'll start.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. We at Amblin, we are storytellers. We're led by one of the greatest, if not the greatest storyteller of all time, in Steven Spielberg. And we wanted to be able to tell those stories globally. We knew that we couldn't quite do that unless we had a presence in China. So we knew that we would need a Chinese partner. But it wasn't just going to be any Chinese partner. For us, it needed to be the right partner. So we got to meet Wei and the team at Alibaba Pictures through a mutual friend of ours. And right off the bat, we discovered that we had a lot in common. And we got to know them. We realized that we had shared vision and shared values and some shared DNA. And from there, it was pretty obvious that we were the right pick for each other.
How would you describe the meeting, the courtship, and the marriage in the end?
Yeah. At Alibaba Pictures, we always wanted to be a studio not just creating content for Chinese audience, but also creating content for a worldwide audience. And we also believe to successfully do that, we need to partner with the best storytellers. And we've been in Hollywood for a while, getting to know people, understanding how things work, and also seeking for the partner that really share our vision and values. And when we met with Amblin Partners, it was, if you could use the dating as a metaphor to describe our relationship, it was really a profound process to me, because the difference between the meeting we had with them versus some other meeting we had is that we really took our time to get to know each other. I think the first few months, 3-4 months, we were meeting each other. We talked nothing about commercial, terms. We spent so much time learning who we are as individuals, what we believe in, what kind of company we want to build, what kind of story we want to tell, and also getting to know our families, kids. It's just a great experience. And I think that's so important to us, is that we want to work with people that share the same vision and value with us. And Amblin Partners, not only they're the best storytellers in the world, but also they truly value partnership. If you look at people working with them, they're all longtime partners with Steven and his team. And his team, not only Steven is great, but also his team is wonderful. So I think that kind of time we spent together really laid a great foundation for us tying up the partnership.
I can see that, a sort of family-like atmosphere. If you've been to the Taco Bell offices at Universal, it definitely feels like you're coming home, so to speak. And Alibaba, too, was born of a person and his friends and his colleagues So what do you hope to get out of it, most of all, in each of your cases? What can the other company and partnership bring to yours?
Well, Alibaba is obviously an incredibly impressive company that knows a ton about the Chinese marketplace and understands the Chinese consumer, and from its e-commerce platforms to its online ticketing platforms, there's a lot that we can learn from them. And at the same time, I think we have a lot to offer to Alibaba Pictures as well, as far as content is concerned and storytelling and so forth. As Wei was saying, as with our other partners, we feel like there's a lot of mutual capability to help each other grow. We're excited to see Alibaba grow, Alibaba Pictures grow, and we're excited for them to help us grow. And I think that's what we're going to see over the coming years.
Would you say the same?
Sure. I mean, for us, I think our relationship has many aspects to it. A lot of people focusing on the investment deal, but to us, that's just a simple way of becoming family in a way. But more importantly, I think there are many areas that we can work on together. We can definitely leverage the data and technology we've learned in the past years building up our company to hopefully bring a new value to the table, to the entertainment industry, and also our ecosystem, our resources to our partner. I mean, we believe we are a platform company ourselves in a way that we build infrastructure, and then we provide opportunities for our partners to really succeed on our platform. So we want to do that in the entertainment industry as well. And we, of course, will help to bring more Amblin content to the Chinese audience. But at the same time, we're equally excited about creating something together. I think that journey is really rewarding for us, is to start from the beginning, dream, the big pictures, and then put in the hard work together. And with their understanding of the global audience and our understanding of the Chinese audience, I think we can tell the story in a way that is more genuine, more in touch with the reality of the people's lives in the world. So we're really looking forward to that journey. And of course, we can leverage our e-commerce platform to work on merchandising, on all the ancillary opportunities. So there are many things we're going to work on together.
So Stephen is obviously known as a great filmmaker, and I know Amblin's been doing a lot of television as well. How would you define the content that you're looking to co-create at this point? Is it across many different platforms? Are you going to focus on one kind of format over another?
I think the beauty of this partnership is that it can be. I mean, at Amblin, we want to be able to make content of all shapes and sizes. We want to make feature-length content. We want to make television. We want to hopefully make digital content as well. And I think with our partners at Alibaba Pictures, we'll be able to do all of those things. I think we will absolutely focus on making Chinese co-productions. We certainly want to be able to make as many of those as possible. Some will be from IP that we source. Some will be from IP that Alibaba Pictures sources. That's the beauty of this, is that I think both of us, we're both builders. We both want to build something great. And so what form that takes from a content perspective, it could really be just about anything.
Well, we're at the beginning of the relationship.
We are.
We want to have you back next year
Sure.
and talk about it maybe a great deal. Is there anything you want to add to that, Wei, about what, as Alibaba, of course, is in touch with so many hundreds of millions of consumers directly. So how do you plan to leverage that?
Yeah, I think like I said, we see ourselves as a sort of new generation, internet DNA'd entertainment company. So I think there's a lot we can learn from our audiences through their behavior. And so much of our audience nowadays, their lives are so different from when we grew up, that there's so much to learn about them through the online platforms. And then we certainly know a lot about our consumers, our users, and we're hoping to use that in a responsible way, but also bringing things to them that's suitable, that's more targeted to their demands. So, and also, you probably read that we have just formally announced that now we have Alibaba Entertainment Group, and under that, Alibaba Pictures is part of it, but also we've got digital delivery of content. We've got music, sports, online reading. There's a number of other properties in the entertainment group, and there's also another way to really leverage the every individual's experience in the digital world to understand them better and then bring the content more targeted to them. So I think there's many ways we can leverage we've learned and we're going to build.
So I know Stephen was in China recently, and as far as I know, because I've actually personally, on behalf of various film festivals in China, invited him to go, and he hasn't been able to go. Perhaps it was his first trip since he was making Empire of the Sun, maybe not. But was there anything particularly surprising to him and also to you, being relatively new to the China market? What did you see that was surprising one way or another?
I had the benefit and the blessing of being able to experience it through the lens of Wei and Jack and the entire Alibaba team. So it was a wonderful experience the times that I've been to Beijing. And I know Stephen had a great time when he was there recently too. I don't know if it was I think he has been back since Empire of the Sun, but mostly he was just surprised at how much Beijing had grown. Yeah. And I think he's certainly excited to see how Shanghai has changed since you were there together with him. But certainly all of the people that we met there and all of the events that we had were not only spectacular, they were a lot of fun. And one sense I got was just about how passionate everybody is about what we're doing and about what Alibaba Pictures is doing. And you could sense it. This wasn't just a deal. This was a real partnership, and we could feel that on the ground in Beijing.
There was always been excitement about bringing great American filmmakers over. In the 80s, you can imagine how Stephen was received, and Bernardo Bertolucci was making The Last Emperor at the same time. So it seemed to be a harbinger of things to come, and then things really slowed down, and now this is kind of the renaissance again, with so much going on.
Yeah, that's exciting.
But now I think China's in a completely different place, obviously, and so it can receive its guests and work with them in a completely different way. And what about you, Wei? Is there anything that you would say about what you've learned about your new relationship with Amblin? And how does that fit in with sort of the Alibaba strategy, or what has inspired you, and where is your kind of creative mind going in terms of what kinds of work you can do together?
I think in the past almost year we spent together, I think I've learned tremendous amount from this team, and then I begin to understand why they make the kind of movie they make and why they're so successful. I think the core of that is this is really a group of people that truly believes in values, truly believe in long-term partnerships, and truly believe in that every movie needs to come back to its core, which is telling great stories. They don't believe in quick mail. They don't believe in because there's a market, we just have to go and grab something and then just do something overnight. I mean, we are believers in that as well, that although China film market is growing rapidly, I mean, even though this year might not be up to the expectation of a lot of people, but still it's a growing market. And I truly believe that we still have a long way to go. There's no rush, I would say, to grab things. And as you know, in my past life, I worked in media, but mostly in the television world. And then the movie world is so different, and it really takes time to tell great stories. And it's a tremendous challenge to tell a great story in 90 to 120 minutes of time. So I think we all should sort of, calm down and focus to the sort of, go back to our heart and ask why we're doing this, right? We're doing this really to tell great stories, to impact people's lives. And that's what we want to do. I mean, that's why Jack wants to get into the content business. It's really not to chase any numbers, profit, or anything. It's because in his heart, he truly believes that we can all be inspired by great storytelling. And that's something I learned from them, is that I begin to understand why they have made so many great content. It's because the people there, that they truly believe in that, and we truly believe in that too. So I feel our journey is really different, and then the way we got together is so refreshing to me. Amblin Partners, they don't believe in speed dating.
Yeah, we're
it's a long project.
Yeah, and then I think only when you share the same values and the path forward, you can then go on the journey and then come through up and downs together. Yeah. As we know in this industry, nobody can guarantee you'll always, be on the high all the time. There are going to be challenges ahead of time. But it's really the mutual belief in values and the vision will help us come through those challenges going forward. So this is really we're building for the long run.
It's music to my ears as a producer. And this message has been reiterated many times. Ang Lee said it this summer at the Shanghai Film Festival. We heard it on the panel here. And yet, there is so much pressure. There's so much money flying around to grab projects that don't have that kind of thinking behind it. And so how do you, navigate in this marketplace when there is that hunger, that intense appetite just to make product and get it out there and make a quick buck? It's...
Yeah, I mean, look, we are in the content business. We do, we're here to make movies, television, digital content, and you have to do it. That's what you do. We've never been in the place where we're going to rush something out just to make a movie. We want to make the right movies. And it's the same way, just to draft a little bit off of what Wei was saying, it's the same way that we look at our partnerships. Not just with Alibaba Pictures, but also with Participant and E1 and Reliance. There are a lot of, I think, what you would call deals out there. And that's what they are, they're deals. But there's no connective tissue there. It's someone's getting something from somebody else, or you exploit this or exploit that. It's just never been the way that we've looked at things. It's not ever been the way that Steven has looked at partnerships. For us, partnerships are great when you are learning from each other. You learn from your partners. You build with your partners, and that doesn't. It's no different when you have a Chinese partnership that you've made. You still want to pick someone that it's not a deal. It's a partnership, and so I do think it's really important that Wei and her team have understood the way that we look at the world, that we have this worldview, even down to the movies that we make, that you're right, we're just not going to say we're going to make 6 movies a year, and that's going to be it no matter what, and we'll just force it through. It's just not what we do. We make the right movies, and hopefully they do great, and hopefully we're all proud of them. And I really do believe that the Alibaba team feels the same way.
And you're looking to make films for the Chinese market in some cases, the global market, co-productions, all of it, it's all to be determined? Or do you have anything more specific you can say about how you evaluate at least the direction going forward?
I think we haven't set a limit for us that we have to make a certain type of content. But one thing for sure is whatever we work on together, it has to be we have to feel very organic about it. It's not something, we're not going to force any Chinese elements into Steven's movies. And then I think, at the same time, we did, take our time and look at all the projects you have in your development pipeline and trying to analyze them and see which ones actually make sense organically to do. I mean, that's a process we're going to take. We're sharing some of our ideas with Amblin team as well. And then they might not take all the ideas that they think suitable, for the kind of movie they want to make. But, only when we start doing things, we can learn from each other. But one thing for sure is we're only going to work on things that we feel organic, not forced. We're not going to, for the heck of making some co-production movies, and for a number that we are chasing, we're going to do it. Yeah.
And that are great stories.
Yes.
They all have to be great stories.
Yeah.
So I think most people who are in this space are finding that it doesn't make sense to do the sort of two-hander, try to. You want to kind of focus on one market or make a global film or focus on the China market, right? Some films have been trying to kind of create artificial templates for what would make the perfect co-production, and it doesn't grow organically out of the story. Are you finding the same thing, is that you have to love the story first?
Absolutely.
And then let's hope, and then you find the right market.
Absolutely. And no matter what it is, I think there'll be movies for global audiences. And if they have Chinese elements in them, that's fantastic. If they don't, they won't. I just think that we found that, again, to tell stories from a global perspective, you can't ignore such a huge market. And so to have this partnership allows us to do that, to include that type of storytelling in our kind of basket of storytelling.
Yeah.
your term basket of reminded me of something, but we're not going to. Okay. Basket of adorables.
Oh, yes, exactly.
A basket of adorable product.
We like that.
I have lost, I don't see the clock, and I have a feeling that it's almost time for Q&A, but I'm not absolutely positive. Is somebody, so I'm going to just open it up because I think we have reached that point in the conversation. Does anybody have any questions for these two lovely individuals at the moment?
Looks like we got one right there.
You know, it's, oh yes, a couple, yes. The one right here.
So what do you think, what is the great story regarding co-production? What content, both Chinese and American audience both can relate, and the story can be successful in both American and China market? Can you give some like a description or some examples for both of you?
I'll just say, I don't know that we have one specifically that we've identified yet. I think that's what we plan to do over the coming months. I will say that, you know, just like I think here, coming out of Hollywood, we have a treasure trove of really, really good stories to tell. There's a really, really deep well of amazing stories to tell that emanate out of China. We're really excited about that, to find these stories that maybe haven't been told in this way before. We haven't identified them yet, but I certainly hope that we do.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think we don't necessarily have to define something as a China story or is an American story. Right? So much of the storytelling in Hollywood is about universal values that we as human beings all share. So I think, you know, it's not necessarily we have to need a East meets West kind of movie. I mean, that kind of subject matter sometimes is difficult to find. I mean, one of the films that we're trying to make is, you know, on the Flying Tigers, which we talk about. I mean, that kind of subject matters do exist, but it's difficult to find. But I do think there are a lot of other films that not necessarily have to have that such strong, obvious elements into it, but it's just great human stories with universal values that people around the world that can appreciate, and we can tell those stories as well.
Yeah, that's very well put.
Yes.
So as a follow-up question, I understand it's really hard to co-produce movies to appeal to both audiences in both markets, but with two Chinese authors that won Nobel Literature Prize and the Christian Andersen Prize, I just feel like the international market is getting more and more open-minded. As like representatives for Hollywood, like would you consider maybe acquiring content from China and like repackaging it in the Hollywood way so that it could appeal to both markets?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're going to be focused on what the best stories are, and if there are fantastic stories that emanate out of China that we can make for global audiences, then we'll do that. I mean, I don't think we're necessarily picky about where the story comes from. I think a great story is a great story.
Yeah.
There's a recent example, if you haven't heard already, of an Amazon movie called Handmaiden. It was actually based on a British novel and made into what I thought was quite an extraordinary Korean movie in Korean. And it took a lot of chances. It would not pass the rating system here, but since it's for Amazon, I guess it's okay. But a very, very strong story that somehow melded into the Korean-Japanese history. It touched on that, but very authentic to Korean audiences, obviously, but also very global. To me, that was a big eye-opener because the original IP was actually a British novel. And I think that could be a source of inspiration for many of us who are working on co-production. So, you know, if you look at whether it be Shakespeare or a great Chinese novel, all these films, in my opinion, can be shaped into international movies that have a mix of characters, and you know, it's so many of the old paradigms are being thrown out the window, which is what's terribly exciting. And I think a lot of the old paradigms are simply not working at the box office if you look around, and that is why new partnerships, new fresh infusion of a mix of ideas is particularly exciting. Okay, I think we have time for a few more. I was told there was going to be a clock there, but there's no clock. I'm looking at myself and wait.
Yeah, she's been.
Oh, somewhere there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't even see somebody over there.
Amblin from USC. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Alibaba's first attempt in Hollywood would be collaborating with Paramount in 3 Hollywood films. And from my own understanding, it's about distribution and marketing in Chinese market. So how would you envision and describe this new partnership between Amblin and Alibaba surpass the level of collaboration with Paramount? And since Alibaba always want to be a studio, will you be able to participate more in the creative process of filmmaking with Amblin? Thank you.
Of course. I mean, the cooperation we have with Paramount, it was a beginning for us. I mean, there are many things we're doing here in Hollywood, and one type of work we do is to work with the studios to help their blockbuster movies to be more successful in China. But that's just one part of just part of our work. But I think even more importantly, that we are in the content creation business ourselves. That we are a movie studio in China. We are making content for the Chinese audience already, and internationally, we want to also not just as sort of help our partner to go to market, but also together to create something. I think the excitement really is to create something together. Absolutely. And see it all the way through, right? So as a movie studio, we have to be very good at creating content. Mm-hmm. Of course, the marketing and distribution are all very important, but I think the core of us is that we want to be able to become great storytellers. Mm-hmm.